Can everyone hear the sound? Is the sound clear? Can someone please let me know? The sound coming? Yes, okay.
Harinam Sankirtane Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya Deho Krishna nama sakate ache. Krishna se tumhara, Krishna dite paro, tumhara shakti ache. Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli. Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli. Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli. Gaitava pache, pache. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura, Doyara Sagara, Vedase Karuna Kori. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura, Doyara Sagara, Vedase Karuna Kori. Vaishnava Thakura, Vaishnava Thakura, Vaishnava Sagara, Vedase Sagara. Edase karuna kori. Edase karuna kori.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dandavat pranam.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Padre Krishna Prabhu.
हरे
I've been
कृष्णा।
missing you, your
Yeah,
association.
we were busy with two different Rath Yatras,
Oh wow, oh wow.
one in Toronto and one in Thunder Bay.
Wow. Very good. Hare Krishna, welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. So today, as I was mentioning in my text message, some of us need to, including myself, need to end at 8 o'clock. So we will not, that's I started the bhajan earlier, so we can get started right on time. And I'm just going to share the screen so we can say our prayers to the spiritual master. Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam tam sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today, luckily, we are covering also a short chapter, Divine and Demoniac Nature. Hopefully, we will get through it. We will see. and I'm just going to share my slides here. One second. Six. I apologize. I got it here. Okay. Divine and Demoniac Natures. This is chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's a very, you could say in some ways, straightforward chapter because Krishna is describing the divine and demoniac natures. What are the qualities of those who are divine and demoniac? So what's the context of this chapter? There's a connection between chapters 14, 15, and 16. Who remembers what's the title of chapter 14?
Hare Krishna, the three modes of material nature.
Yes, three modes of material nature. That's the title of chapter 14. Very nice. Three modes of material nature. So that is describing goodness, passion, and ignorance. Goodness being the qualities of the divine, passion and ignorance being primarily the qualities of the demoniac. Then, after chapter 14, we move on to chapter 15, in which we have the banyan tree, nature, enjoyer, and consciousness. This is the description of the reflected tree. So you have the real tree, you have the reflected tree. You have the upper branches, you have the lower branches. And the lower branches are deeper into the modes as you go lower into the water, so to say. And then now in chapter 16, we have divine and demoniac natures. Krishna's now bringing the theory of the modes and of the material world and the nature of the material world. Now he's actually being more specific and identifying that theory with specific, you could say, character types, not personality types, qualities, character qualities. And Krishna does this very often in the Bhagavad Gita, and that's one thing I'm going to show you as pulling that slide up. But before that, so what do we mean by the upper branches and lower branches? This is the reflected tree in the water, and the lower branches are the more demoniac branches. The upper branches, which are actually lower in the real tree, but upper in the reflected tree, are more the divine branches. So as we progress on this tree, as we move through this tree, we find that the lower modes are present in that analogy on the lower branches. So, chapter 16 overview. Krishna describes the transcendental and demoniac qualities from texts 1 through 6. Krishna describes the demoniac nature, texts 7 through 18. Krishna describes the result of demoniac activities, text 19 through 24. So, as you notice, what do you notice? Someone say, what do you notice in the overview of this chapter?
Everything seems demonic.
Yes, Krishna spends a lot more time discussing the demoniac nature than the transcendental nature, because that's what we struggle with more in this material world. Yes. Others, comments? Someone else is also speaking.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Is it like, because if we compare this with the reflection of the tree,
Yes.
so the upper one is the transcendental and demoniac little bit, and as you go down, I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. As you progress in the chapter, you're going kind of, if you see it that way, then yes, one could say that as well. Yes.
No,
So,
also,
yes.
Prabhu, I feel that, by telling giving more significance to this demoniac nature here, Krishna is trying to tell us that what we are supposed to stay away from.
Yes. Actually, this is a fact that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he defines who a Vaishnava is. And he says, Asat Sangatyag ye Vaishnavachar. That a devotee is someone who gives up bad association. And he could say a Vaishnava is someone who accepts good association or stays in good association, which is also true. But it's almost even more important to give up bad association in some ways than accepting good association. Because as long as we keep ourselves in bad association, we may even have good association, but we won't be able to take advantage of it. Just like Dhritarashtra had the good association of Vidura. Vidura was a Mahajan. He was a pure devotee of the Lord. Yet he could not heed his advice. He could not take his advice because he was in the association of Duryodhana and Shakuni. his mind was so contaminated. And we see this sometimes, people are like that. Whatever you do, you can't change their mind. They're so engrossed. They're so enmeshed in the bad association that they have, is that um, they cannot think they cannot think in the right way. It's like their mind is so bent on the wrong course of action. Even they have the logic, the best advice, they cannot think in that right way. So, Daivim Asram Sampadam. These are the qualities now that Krishna is describing. Of Sampadam means qualities of the Daivam, the divine, and Asura means of the demoniac. So text 1 through 3, he describes Sampadam Daivam, the qualities of the divine, just 3 texts. And in text 4, he describes the qualities of the demoniac. So even the first 6 texts that we are saying, even in that one text is describing the demoniac qualities. So it's really just text 1 through 3. And Krishna begins right from the beginning of the chapter. He starts off this chapter just describing the qualities of those who are divine. And here they are. This is a list, all the qualities that he mentions. Maybe while we read this, someone can count them and tell us at the end how many qualities there are. He says, what are the divine qualities? Fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of knowledge, charity, self-control, sacrifice, Vedic study, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion, freedom of covetousness, gentleness, steady determination, vigor, modesty, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy, freedom from the passion for honor. So these are the divine qualities, and because these are the qualities the divine persons cultivate, they remain very peaceful. Just like we have such a passion to be honored, but if we're freed from the passion to be honored, 50% of our anxiety is gone. We get into conflicts, disturbances because of our nature to fault find. But if we don't see others' faults, but we see their good qualities, then the other 25% is gone, right? Of agitation in the mind. A devotee is very simple. Prabhupada says, and Krishna says in the Gita, that simplicity is the austerity of the mind. We have to teach the mind, satisfaction is the austerity of the mind. And satisfaction is there when there's simplicity. My Guru Maharaj also used to say that we should be simple in the way that we think. We should be simple. Not just in the way we live, but in the way we think. Like we shouldn't be complicated in the way we think. Complicated means, too much, too much sometimes duplicity, or just complicating like our life. If I do this, then this will happen. If I say this to this, then this will happen, and then this will work, and this person will become my friend, and that person will, do this. We sometimes, with our own selves, we play very complicated, you could say, scenarios. So we should be simple, austere, self-controlled, sacrificing. And these qualities, for one person to develop them, are almost impossible, right? But what's the interesting part? The interesting thing is that Krishna describes these qualities again and again and again in the Gita. Perhaps all of you have noticed this already, just kind of in your first time doing Bhakti Shastri. But 2 or 3 years ago, I noticed this. I was like, this happens again and again. Like Krishna in the Gita really focuses on the qualities of a devotee. Like we don't actually realize it so much because we think more of the philosophy, what Krishna's teaching about karma yoga, dhyana yoga, all these things. But Krishna actually in the Gita over and over and over again describes the qualities of a pure devotee, or the qualities of a saintly person, or the qualities of a person who has divine qualities. And so I asked one of the students to compile a list of all the places where Krishna talks about these divine qualities, because there's so many times that it takes place. And they did that. It was, I think, Paramatma Prabhu from Portland, and he compiled this amazing list. I'll share it with you right here. And you can also do this. It's very easy to do. Yes, sorry, Param Karuna Prabhu from Portland. You see his picture there. So I took a screenshot of this. You can also take a screenshot when I took a screenshot of him sharing it. So in chapter 5, he describes the qualities of a jnani. In chapter 6, he again describes the qualities, and every time it's a very similar list: humility, pridelessness, simplicity, austerity, compassion, cleanliness. Text 4 to 5, Krishna is the source of everything, and Krishna is the source of these saintly qualities. He describes the saintly qualities, and that he's a source. So it comes in chapter 10 also, then chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 14, chapter 15, and we actually just covered it in the previous chapter, and now in chapter 16. And then again, you'll notice, and I remember also that in chapter 18, it comes again. So the point being that Krishna really wants us to develop these qualities. He really does. He wants us to become these qualities. And Krishna says that one who has these qualities and also worships me is very dear to me. Right? Krishna actually says this. I'm forgetting exactly where he says it, but he says that one who engages in my devotional service is very dear, but one who has these qualities, and he lists it, and then he says, such a person is very dear to me. Because when we embody these qualities, then we are actually, that means the effect of bhakti is becoming manifest. The result of devotional service is these qualities. Of course, these qualities help us in our devotional service, but our devotional service actually manifests these qualities. And that's why we see that Prabhupada encouraged us to engage in devotional service and said that these qualities will manifest in the body of a devotee. So back here, this PowerPoint. So who counted this? How many are there?
26.
26? Anyone else confirm?
Yes, Prabhu,
Yeah,
26.
it's 26.
26. So these are the 26 qualities of a devotee. Right? These are the divine qualities, the 26 qualities of a devotee. So Prabhupada gives a very, very extensive, very detailed comments on these different qualities in different places. And he asks us to develop these 26 qualities. And we see that in the advanced devotees in our movement, they actually exhibit these qualities. Right? They'll be fully determined, but very gentle. They will be very compassionate, compassion is a quality. Yet at the same time, they will be very vigorous in their preaching for themselves. Right? They're free from envy. They're fearless. Fearlessness. Very interesting that fearlessness is mentioned as the first quality, and that's again a result of devotional service. Because only when a devotee is fully convinced about the protection of the Lord can the devotee be fearless. You can't be fearless artificially. We say, "Oh, I'm not afraid of anything," but yeah, the moment we are in an accident or some weird sounds start coming at night, we will be fearful. We will only be fearless if we actually are, as Krishna said, sitting in the palm of the Lord. We are factually convinced of the protection of the Lord as a result of our devotional service to the Lord. So first quality is fearlessness. Second is purification of one's existence. This is sadhana bhakti. This is why we must follow the four regulative principles, because purification of existence is important. Cultivation of knowledge. It starts with knowledge. Bhakti must be based on knowledge, and this is why we're doing Bhakti Shastri, etc., etc. Okay, so now we move forward. So Prabhupada says, for sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, as I mentioned, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect of Paramatma, is always within, that he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna's Paramatma will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. So Narad Muni in the Bhagavatam exhibits this fearlessness. He goes to the forest, the jungles, where dangerous animals lived, but he goes there alone on the basis of the protection of Krishna, and there he meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in meditation, you really don't know who's going to come and eat you, because you're in one place, right? Like when you're walking, you can at least see, okay, there's a tiger there, let me turn right. But when you're sitting and meditating, you don't know who will come and eat you up. So it's not, that's why he was already a very realized soul, even as his previous life as Narad Muni. Which small child, 6, 7 years old, can just leave an ashram where there's saintly devotees? He had the association of devotees even there, but just leave to find out the Lord. It takes immense, unimaginable conviction to do that. And that's why he's Narad Muni. How many lifetimes he must have developed his Krishna consciousness to come to that point. Now Prabhupada is speaking about austerity. Tapas, or austerity, is especially meant for retired life. One should not remain a householder throughout his life, throughout his whole life. He must always remember that there are 4 divisions of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So after grihastha, household life, one should retire. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in student life, 25 in household life, 25 in retired life, and 25 in the renounced order of life. These are the regulations of the Vedic religious disciplines. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of the body, mind, and tongue. This tapasya, that is tapasya. The entire Varnashrama Dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. So the reason I put this picture here is because in retired life, what we do in materialistic life is exactly the opposite. When people get retired, they think, well, this is the time to now kick back and relax. Like you go on a plane, right? They say, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. So it's the time to just, be next to the ocean, and just read a book and gel. But actually, it said that retired life is a time of austerity. It's a time to seek the Lord, find the Lord, and reach the ultimate goal of life. Finally, you get the chance. You've given up your job. You actually have time. You're done with your family duties. So if we see all the examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they are like Bharat Maharaj, when he leaves, when he gets retired, when he retires, then he leaves the kingdom. He doesn't just relax there in his kingdom. Detachment is good. That by itself is laudable, that he gives it up and he gives it to his children. But he doesn't relax in his kingdom. He goes to the forest, lives in the ashram, and there seeks the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhritarashtra even is told by Vidura that go and perform austerities before you die. Find the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the final, like they say, home run. Do the final push and reach the final destination. They say in an exercise class, this is the final stretch. Do the final push so you see the results come, right? So, retired life is a life meant to dedicate to devotional service. Now, of course, due to the effects of Kali Yuga, we may not have the health and the strength to do what these personalities like Bharat Maharaj and Karda Muni and these showed by their example. But we can do that same mindset, the same austerity, the same conviction. We can have that same mindset at home or next to a temple or in our just daily routine. We don't have to go to the forest, but we must become 100% absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Now, Prabhupada is making a very good point here that this is not just an instruction for renounced persons, because he says, if one lives for 100 years, this phrase immediately struck me. He's saying, if one lives, not everyone lives for 100 years. And there's no guarantee that we will live even 40 years. So at every point in life, we must be fully Krishna conscious. The householder has to be Krishna conscious. The brahmachari has to be Krishna conscious. And of course, the vanaprastha and sannyasis must, because then, the clock is ticking. It's very clear. Then it's like, it's not even any question. There's, in grahastha life, there's a possibility, a good possibility that we may not make it to 100 years or that, death is not close. But retired life and sannyas life, the warnings are already being given because the body is, revolting in so many ways. So especially in the renounced time, in the retired time. But the householder cannot think that right now I am just fine, and then when I get retired, then I will get serious in my Krishna consciousness. We should think that every day we should think that I can die today. We should think that at any time I can die. I can be driving out of my driveway and going on the street and I can die, which we see is not just phantasmagoria, that's reality. That happens, right? One devotee accidentally was backing out his car and he hit a family member. And luckily the family member didn't die, but they almost died. So this can happen to devotees also. We think, oh, I'm a devotee, so I'm protected. We can be standing in our driveway, someone doesn't see. Now we have rear view cameras, but before there wasn't. Someone is distracted and they drive their car over us. Or driving is just one example. There's so many diseases, cancer, this, that, right? Or we can fall somewhere. Something can happen at any moment. So therefore, the principle is at every moment we are thinking that, am I ready? If I die today, am I ready to go back home, back to Godhead? And if we do our sadhana nicely, if we are chanting our rounds nicely, then we are ready. We are ready at any time. Krishna can take us. There was once an earthquake that happened in Los Angeles, and it happened like at 6 in the morning. And the devotees who woke up in the morning and did their rounds in Mangalarati, they were ready. They were like, okay, it was a big earthquake, and the temple shook and everything. And they're thinking, if I die, I'm completely ready. I'm chanting, I'm in the temple, I'm absorbed. Krishna, please take us. Perfect timing. But the devotees who were sleeping, they woke up in fear. This was actually a real experience that a community of devotees had. They woke up, what's happening? Shaking. Oh, they're groggy. What's going on? Where's my wife? Where's my children? No clue. It came without any prior notice, right? There's no prior notice. So they were not ready. And so then they got very serious after that. Okay, no, Krishna, this is a message that I should be ready every day. I should be ready. So this is actually one of the things that is taught in the Bhagavatam by Maharaj Rishabhdev and all these things, that we must always keep in sight the reality. We're not being pessimists, we're being realists, and mold our life accordingly. That what am I preparing for? I'm preparing for the final exam. I'm not preparing for the Bhakti Shastri exam. The Bhakti Shastri exam is preparing me for the final exam. And my goal is to pass the final exam, which is a pop quiz, right? Which is not, you don't get that exam at a set date and time. That's the problem. Because sometimes, like teachers, they have quizzes that are called pop quizzes. We do that at the university. It's spontaneous. Students should be ready, and you should be knowing this, and it'll be a surprise. You don't get it every week. It's just you must be prepared. So that's the final exam. We also don't get a specific date and time. For a householder, then what is the sacrifice? What is the process? We said for the retired, for the vanaprastha and sannyasis, tapasya, austerity. The householders cannot do so much austerity, but they also have to be prepared. They have small children, so they can't wake them up at 4 in the morning with a cold shower, but they also have to be prepared. So how do they do that? The best sacrifice recommended in this age is called Sankirtan Yajna. The Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Prabhupada says the most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So these 3 items, namely charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice, are meant for the householder. Charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice are meant for the householder. So this is not easy. When you're in a household life, it's not easy to control your senses on every level. On the physical level, on the mental level, on the material level, in terms of material possessions, we want more and more. But we must control our senses. We must give charity. Charity is very important. Now, charity seems more like a pious principle, a moral principle, than a devotional principle. However, if we read the Chaitanya Bhagavad, Lord Chaitanya actually says that Lord Chaitanya is saying this, the founder of the Sankirtan movement who was chanting and dancing all day. He said there's no higher devotional service for a householder than giving charity. He actually says this. It's there in the Chaitanya Bhagavad. Because the thing that we're most attached to, that's what we need to give to Krishna. The thing that is closest to us, that we work hardest, that's what we need to give to Krishna. Now, within reason, based on our level of advancement, if we give everything away today, but we regret it tomorrow, then it may not be the best thing to do. But we must give. That is purification of one's existence. That also connects with that quality of purification of existence. How will we purify our work? How will we purify our life? We can decide where we give it. We can give it to an institution that we have trust in, or to a person we have trust in, or to a project that we are inspired by, or to a cause that we're inspired by. We can give it ourselves, just directly build a temple or an institution or a book booth ourselves. But we must use it in the Lord's service. That's the point. That is devotional service. And then if we do these two things, then Sankirtan Yajna becomes very easy. The sacrifice, the yajna of this age. If we don't control our senses and we chant, then the chanting will not be very potent. It's like, you know that, right? When you break a principle and you start chanting, it's like Krishna's mercy. It doesn't manifest so easily. It can manifest because chanting is so powerful, but it doesn't manifest so easily. Then Svadhyaya, Vedic study, is meant for brahmacharya. So now what about the students? For them, the study of the scriptures. This is the time to focus the mind. One cannot say that we can become pure devotees just by doing kirtan as youth. We can if we're a pure devotee. But given that most children are not pure devotees, they need the Vedic study also. They need the study of scriptures also, so that their mind and intelligence are fixed. Of course, we can make immense progress even if we don't study the scriptures and we're just chanting. But here Krishna is specifically mentioning Swadhyaya. Why is he mentioning it if it's not important? It's important. We must study the books. Brahmacharis should have no connection with women. They should live a life of celibacy and engage the mind in the study of Vedic literature for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is called Svadhyaya. The modern society is exactly the opposite, where from a very young age, they give the young minds complete freedom of association with the opposite sex, complete freedom of knowledge and information about sex life and sex literature, films, pictures, and then we expect that they'll be very good in their studies or they'll be focused in their spiritual life. I was actually, sometimes giving presentations at high schools, and I'm sometimes surprised, like how do the students concentrate, right? If you have, so many boys and girls together, and in the way that they're dressed and the activities that they're engaged in, like it's not really their fault. How can they be focused on any type of study? How can they put their minds to their books? So even until recent times, this knowledge was there, and Vedic society was very logical. They had, boys' schools and girls' schools, and because this is one of the first principles of student life is celibacy. And then after that, once that time period is over, then there's married life. Then there's association, no problem. But the mind and character have been trained, and one is ready, and one can be a responsible person and control their senses. So brahmachari life literally means celibate life. And two things here Prabhupada is saying: the Vedic study, and in order to do that, in order to study, one has to practice celibacy. As far as the Brahminical quality of simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow this principle, but every member, be he in the brahmachari ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, or sannyas ashram, one should be very simple and straightforward. Actually, my small realization is that this is actually the only way to stay sane, right? Prabhupada is saying one should be very simple and straightforward. Then one can live in a ISKCON society live in a family and in a society and still have a level of sanity. One can chant and still be able to concentrate on one's chanting. Otherwise, if I said this to someone, they said this to me, and that, like the mind becomes very agitated. So very simple and straightforward. Such a nice instruction Prabhupada is giving for our benefit, for our happiness. He's giving this, and we know what our duty is. We know our service. We know, there's just this is the quality that every person should exhibit. Prabhupada is saying everyone has the responsibility, the duty to be simple and straightforward. Apaishunam means that one should not find fault with others or correct them unnecessarily. Of course, to call a thief is not fault finding, but to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. And, Prabhupada says that offense can undo all of our advancement. So we are the losers. We worked so hard for that advancement. So, but there's nothing wrong in calling a thief a thief. I remember one time a temple president was stealing money from the temple, and my Guru Maharaj said he's a crook, and he just said it openly, like he's a crook. He's stealing money. So calling a thief is not a problem. But to call an honest person a thief, or to make an allegation before we actually know the facts fully, we've taken the time to understand them, and we've taken the time to rectify it, and nothing is happening. And before we do anything of that, if we call someone a thief, then that will be a very offensive thing. And we see that sometimes that devotees are, like in India, I've heard a few stories, a very well-known story, one devotee in Vrindavan, he was falsely accused of stealing something from the deities, because the deity department always has some precious items, some nice necklaces. Not too many, but not very expensive, but nice expensive. So something was missing, and someone made an allegation to him, and he didn't steal it. And because of that, he had to leave the temple, and he wasn't a devotee for like 10 years, and then he came back one day and he became a very nice devotee again. But it was a false allegation, and that caused a disturbance in his spiritual life. And it caused most certainly a disturbance in the life of those who made the allegation. So the best policy is we just don't see the fault. We don't have the tendency to fault find. By seeing faults in others, our devotional life becomes affected. So best not to do that unless it's obvious and necessary. One more point I was going to say on this, that in the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says that the quality of an Uttamadhikari, of a pure devotee, is that they're free from the tendency to criticize others. We think it is normal human behavior to criticize someone. Well, they're so, they looked really bad when they did that, just like that's normal talk. But as devotees, we have to check ourselves that we're free from the tendency to criticize others. That's a literal statement. We should not take the time, even at home, after we come back from a program, to sit and analyze what everyone did in a critical way. Akrodha means to check anger. Even if there's provocation, one should be tolerant, for once one becomes angry, his whole body becomes polluted. Have you noticed this? Anger is a product of the mode of passion and lust. So one who is transcendently situated should check himself from anger. And I was reading the pastimes of Bharat Maharaj, and this was actually the difference between Maharaj Rahugna and Jad Bharat. Maharaj Rahugna, who was a materialist, starts to criticize Jad Bharat. And Bharat Maharaj, as Jad Bharat, is unable to carry his palanquin nicely. And because of that, he becomes so angry at him. How dare you don't carry my palanquin properly? And though Jad Bharat is such an exalted pure devotee and he's being insulted in such an inhumane way, Prabhupada writes and Bhagavatam notes that Jad Bharat doesn't become angry. He is unaffected by his words. He says, okay, he's BSing, right? He's saying all of these things, but it's not about me. It's not to me. I'm the soul. I'm not this body. So Jad Bharat is unaffected by Rahugana's treatment of him. And then but at the same time, he doesn't become angry, yet then Rahugana speaks out and he responds to Rahugana's criticisms. Jad Bharat doesn't become angry, but he still responds to Jad Bharat's statements and points out to him that your understanding is incorrect. Your criticism should not be there. So perfect example that, well, we just can't be quiet. It's not practical when someone is, hurting us. Even a pure devotee has feelings. And Bhagavatam mentions that he feels hurt by it, but he's not affected by anger. Jad Bharat feels he's hurt by it, but he doesn't feel the anger of a materialist. And therefore he instructs him and he corrects him. Sometimes with strong words, he corrects him. But he does so not on the platform of anger, but on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So can these bad qualities be changed? Yes, by good association. By accepting good association, the association of devotees, these qualities can be changed. So we just completed the divine qualities. When we have the divine qualities, but what's being said here, asat sangha, by bad association, we can change these good qualities into bad qualities. And that's what we'll look at next time, which is very interesting. And that's the next part. So we covered the shorter part this time, the divine qualities. We have 10 minutes left, so I was thinking we'll leave that for discussion. And we can start with the devotees who didn't get a chance to ask their questions last time. And then just we'll end at 8, at 8 minutes we have, so we'll just end at 8 o'clock my time. Srinivas Pundarika Prabhu, I see you here. You can start.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I have one question in the chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga.
Yes.
So I'm able to understand, to a certain extent, this is a perverted reflection of the tree, and based on, the aversion, attachment, and detachment, those are secondary trees, and we go up and down between branches. And the twigs are the sense objects. One place I was thrown, I got doubt is that, and Prabhupada explains, the tips of the branches are the senses, because it makes me believe that we are outside, and we understand we are going up and down. The twigs are the sense objects, we are getting attached to it because of the fruits and flowers and everything. But when he says the tips of the branches are the senses, that's what I could not understand.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and part of that analogy of the tree, you're absolutely correct. I don't, I always struggled in understanding how they fit together. Why are the tips the senses? Why are the twigs, this and that? Why are the leaves the Vedas? It's very mysterious. That's all I can say. It's like there's no good explanation why the tips should be the senses.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhupada. Because it looks like that we are standing outside the tree and enjoying everything, and based on this move up and down. But I couldn't understand the tips as the senses. But thank you.
Yes, thank you for raising that issue. I'm sure others are also wondering about that. Like, how do we understand this analogy? And it's a metaphor, and a very deep metaphor, and we just have to kind of understand it in the way that we can. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you. Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, please unmute. Gunchu.
Yeah, Hare
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Danvat Pranam. You had mentioned in the class last time, and this has come up many times, that even though Krishna says throughout the Bhagavad Gita that we are a part and parcel of him, and he wants us to go back to Godhead, back to him. But it is our choice that we have forgotten him. And I am not able to understand, why would we choose to forget him if we were always near him, and we are parts and parcels. I am not able to comprehend, why would we choose to be influenced by Maya and be struggling as much as we are.
Yes, that is a very...
How did we forget him? Right?
Yes, that is a very big question. A very nice question that you're asking. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna bhulya jeev bhoga vancha kare. The basic point is that we are turning away from Krishna and choosing to forget Krishna because we want to be the enjoyers. And Prabhupada actually says this once or twice in like context of lectures or conversations, where he says that we see that Krishna's sitting in the circle, right? The cowherd boys are there, and Krishna's sitting in the center of the circle. And all the devotees around there, and they're eating sweets, and they're smelling flowers, and they're enjoying the spiritual world. And the thought comes to us, why am I not in the center? Why is Krishna in the center? And this whole material world is about putting us in the center and not Krishna in the center. Now you say, well, if the spiritual world is perfect and there's pure goodness there, how can even any envy, ignorance come there? And for that, the acharyas say yadrichaya, somehow or the other. There's no logical reason. Why? Because we ourselves say that. We have experience with this. We say free will. Will is free. It's not based upon previous courses of action. Sometimes kids have the best parents in the world, the best education, the most loving family in the world, and they will be irresponsible, turn away from them, and run away from home. Other times they may have most difficult parents, no food, difficult life, yet they're very devout. What's the reason? Because we have free will. The soul has a will, and we choose how to use it since time immemorial. And we were not the point is that we as living beings were not we were not created by Krishna at a specific point in time. We've been eternally part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is our creator in the sense that he's maintaining us at every moment, and our existence is dependent on his existence. But we are an individual soul since time immemorial. So our choices are truly ours. And love means that there's choice not to love. So in the spiritual world, there is true love. We're not robots. And because we have true love, because we have the choice to truly love Krishna, then for that reason, we are having the choice to not love him and to come to this material world. So, but because Krishna is perfect and because everything he does is perfect, our stay in this material world is temporary. It's not eternal. If we are eternally bad, then that means Krishna, there's something part of Krishna that's really bad. It's ontologically bad because it can't be good again. So that's why we don't believe in eternal hell, because either Krishna's mercy is unlimited, or our suffering is unlimited, or our evil is unlimited. No, Krishna's mercy is unlimited, so therefore our mistakes and suffering are limited. And just like a child, so now why does Krishna even have limited suffering? But no, choice must be there, and that increases love when we have the choice and the consequences for that choice. That is freedom. Why did Krishna have to do it this way? Why so? Well, ask Krishna. You know, that part of how much is necessary and how the world is made, there's no there theoretically it is Krishna's decision. I mean, by definition, it is Krishna's decision. It's not our decision. But we understand that the choice is ours, and Krishna's plan is perfect. It's perfectly meant to bring us back to him.
Thank you so much. Very, very nicely explained. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, so we'll end at this time. Just this week, I have to end. So next time we'll continue, and please remember your questions, and we'll start with those who had their hand up this time. Next time we'll have more time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank you.